In this lesson, we're going to create the door handles for our car. Alright, so in between lessons, I went ahead and I applied a symmetry modifier to the entire car, so that way I could just see how it looks as a whole. This might kind of help you as you're modeling as well, to kind of give you a little bit of a booster. I find that as I'm modeling, and it kind of feels like without symmetry, it doesn't appear that it's done completely. And so by adding it, kind of just adds a little bit more to it. Kind of helps me to feel a little bit more confident that I'm just about finished. So maybe that'll help you too. Just really quickly to show you how this is done, just select the object that you want to apply the symmetry to, and then you'll want to go to Hierarchy, Effect Pivot Only, Center to the object, and then you'll change the X value to 0. Okay. Once you type that in, turn off Effect Pivot Only, and then go down to Editable Poly, and then Modifier List, and then add your Symmetry modifier. And then once you're finished with that, it's going to add it just above the Editable Poly, and then you should still have your Turbo Smooth on top. So I just went ahead and I did that for every single object that I needed to apply symmetry to. So even the grate here on the front, and every single piece here. Okay, so it's all applied with the symmetry. Even these pieces here, which I showed you how to do, we just had them turned off from before. Even the back glass has the symmetry modifier. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the door. What I want to do is I want to go to my left view, and let's hit Alt-X, and I want to add in this little circle door handle piece. Now, we're not going to build the door handle itself. We're not going to have enough time to get into that for this particular lesson, but we'll move on to that next. We want to cut this hole out, and I'm going to show you how we can do that. First thing that you'll want to do is you want to add in some geometry to kind of help you out with that process. This can be done by going to your edge loop. Okay, double click on this edge loop here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on our edge constraint, and we're just going to move this to the left. Now you'll notice now that I have all of these pieces separated out, I can move certain edges without affecting other edges in the mesh. If you want to see this, go ahead and turn on your show end result just to make sure that nothing is changing and it doesn't have a mismatch or anything like that. But right now we're looking really good. Let's go ahead and take this vertex right here, and let's use chamfer. Now when we chamfer this, it's going to split that vertex into 4 different vertices. And I'm going to split this enough to where I got this bottom edge here, and then I'm going to hit OK on that. Let's take this vertex right here and let's pull that down. Actually, let's do this instead. Let's use chamfer still, but let's take our amount down, and let's take it to where none of those vertices are coming up to the edge, and then we'll hit OK. Let's take this vertex, let's pull it up manually until it touches that edge. We'll pull this over until it touches that edge. Same thing here. And this one we're going to have to guess a little bit. So I'm going to think it's right about there, and then we'll pull this down to here. Alright, so now that we have that, let's take that polygon and we're going to use inset on that. Now by insetting this, we're creating a polygon on the inside of another polygon. So we're going to make this about, let's say, 0.5. We'll hit OK on that, and then I'm going to take that polygon and I'm actually going to push it in to the mesh. Now let's make sure that we have our edge constraints turned off. Push that straight in the X direction, and you'll see here that that begins to kind of create this cylindrical shape. Now what I want to do at this point is I want to go ahead and go to vertex mode, select these 2 vertices, and let's connect that, and then we're going to right click and cut from this vertex across to this vertex. And you'll notice that we get this weird shape. That means that we didn't quite cut on top of that vertex, and so we have overlapping vertices. Notice that this says 2 vertices selected. Let's weld that, and now we get this nice cylindrical shape here. Let's push that in a little bit more, and that will give us this nice little rounded shape. Hit Alt-X, and you'll see that it's starting to come out, but it's not quite there. hit Alt-X again on your door, and we need to come out just a little bit further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Edit, Swift Loop, and I'm going to add a loop right up here against that. Okay, that's going to start to harden up that crease there, but it's still not giving us our exact shape that we want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to Edge Mode, and I'm going to select these three edges, and I'm going to connect that. And I'm going to connect it with a single edge and then pull that out. And this is going to start to help me get that rounded shape that I need. So then I'll pull this out, and then we'll select these edges, and we'll connect that, pull that out, and then one more time here, and then pull that out. Okay, so try to get this as rounded as possible, getting that to meet up, okay, as closely as you can. You'll have to pull some points around. Just trying to get that to match. Okay. Now, if you find that your computer is going a little too slow, you may want to go ahead and turn off the Turbo Smooth, or just hide it at the moment, because what's happening is it's also trying to compute the other side because we have a symmetry modifier on it as well. Okay, so far that's doing pretty well. The next thing that I need to do is I need to quadrify this. So I'm going to take this vertex here and this vertex, and let's just simply connect. We're going to do that for this one, this one to here, and then this one to here. Let's take a look at our Turbo Smooth with that on and see if that changes our the shape of our door. As you can see, that's cut out that hole that we need there, and it really hasn't changed the shape of our door. Our seams look really good still. We may have to do just a little bit of tweaking with our vertices a little bit more. Hit Alt-X just to kind of see how that looks. But overall, I think it looks pretty good. May spread that out just a little bit more. And even across the bottom here. There we go. Okay, so there we have that. Now we'll use the same kind of process for the door lock that's underneath. You can see that this is just a little bit different, and this one's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for us because it's kind of offset, and we need to figure out how we can get that that hole there. To do this, I would probably start out with this polygon right here, and it looks like something's going on here. Let's hit F2, see what's shaded there. That looks kind of odd. Not really sure why it's doing that, but anyway, let's inset this, and we'll inset this amount pretty small, and then I'm just going to take the vertices and I'm just going to move them. Okay, and let's make sure that we move them with our edge constraint turned on, so that way we're moving along the surface of that. And I'm going to move this across here, and then pull that across here. And then the really cool thing about this is if I grab that polygon, I can go to Polygons and then GeoPoly, and it makes that nice and square. Now, the only issue that we have here is that we have a square polygon, but it's not round. So how do we get that to be round? Well, I'm going to use n-gons to do this. Now, you might be saying, okay, whoa, why are we using n-gons? You told us not to, and now you're telling us to use them. Well, there are certain times that it's okay. If we're finished with all of the details in this model, and this is the last little detail that needs to be added to the door itself, it's okay to use an n-gon, especially if it's a model that is non-deforming. In this case, a door. It's not going to have any bones to animate it. Okay, so it's not going to be flexing or anything like that. So it's perfectly fine in this case. So how am I going to do this? Well, let's go ahead and select this edge right here and this edge, and let's simply connect that. And then we're going to take this edge, and this edge, and connect that. So we'll have this cross here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all 4 of those polygons, and I'm going to use Polygons GeoPoly, and actually it didn't do it, but let's do this. Let's take these 4 edges that we just created and hit backspace. Now the cool thing is it left these vertices behind, and what I can do is now select that and use Polygons GeoPoly, and it'll round that out into that nice little cylinder there. Let's go ahead and go to vertex mode, and let's connect that there, and then connect this here. Okay, oops, let's actually cut that from here to there. Okay, and let's make sure that we have just those polygons together, and that looks good from there to there. Now let's take those polygons and let's just simply inset that, and we're going to inset that down to a really low value, something like that. And then I'm going to extrude this, but we're going to do it in a negative direction. So let's do -1, and you'll see that that pushes in. Let's go a little bit lower than that. Let's do -0.25, and actually let's do -0.05 first. Let's add that to that, and then we're going to do -0.25. Hit OK on that, and then let's inset that by just a little bit, and then hit OK. So what we've done is we went ahead and we created this lock element, and it creates a really nice cylinder, even though we've used N-gons. And I know that normally we would say do not do that, but in this case it's appropriate. We have all the right circumstances to be able to use that, because this door is not deforming. It's a hard surface, meaning that it's not going to have any bones that make it flex or anything like that. We're finished with all the details in the door, so we have all of our seams. It's just one of those final details, so it's perfectly fine to use that. So what we're going to do in our next lesson is we're going to finish off the door handle by creating the actual handle itself, and we're going to fit that right over the top. This will go pretty quickly. We're just going to use some box modeling methods to create that. So we'll get started with that in our next lesson.